Do your own thing. That's my recommendation for today. And that's what I plan to continue doing because it may not make me the most popular author in the world or the most recognized person in the world, but I feel good about what I'm doing and what I'm accomplishing by doing my own thing. I have tried writing to market. I have tried following the advice of people who can supposedly help you improve your views on YouTube, but none of what they say really resonates with me. So I'm going to continue doing what I'm doing. I'm going to be, or at least try to be, happy with where I am because I'm doing a lot of the things that I've always dreamt of doing. I've not garnered much of a following yet, if that ever happens, but I'm hopeful that people will start to catch on to the fact that I'm trying to be myself. I'm trying to be my own unique, quirky person. At my age, I mean, it's hard not to be because there is the old cliche that you can't teach old dogs new tricks. Not to say that I can't learn, but the point I think is that maybe I don't want to learn. And I feel at this point in my life, I want people to meet me where I am because all of us, I know you will probably feel this just as much as I do, but all of us have spent our lives trying to fit ourselves into the boxes that will get us a better paying job. So we go and get a degree. We research to see which degree will get us the highest paying job. We learn all of the latest tech skills. We buy all of the most recent outfits so that we look like we are put together. You know, we spend so much of our lives trying to fit into those boxes that society is creating for us that I think it's okay for us to take a step back and do our own thing every once in a while. And I think it's important that we do that, especially now with the advent of AI, because AI is being trained on the norm, on what everybody is supposed to do. And I feel that the people who are trying to be themselves, the people maybe who are not the most popular ones in the room, who are the quirky ones, who are putting things out there that are not being marketed to the current trends. I think those are the people that are really going to be at least making themselves happy, because buying all the newest and latest things really is not a good way to make yourself happy. I know I've bought my share of junk that is sitting in the backs of cupboards, bottoms of drawers, out in my workshop, gathering dust and cobwebs because I bought something that I thought would make me happy because that's what everybody else was buying. And then I realized it really wasn't something that interested me. So my recommendation for today is that you do your own thing. That may not necessarily be reading my books, which is fine, or watching these videos, which is also fine, in which case you won't get this message. But I really think more of us need to be taking a step back from what society expects from us. We need to be more individual. Obviously, we need to follow the important rules that are necessary for a functioning society. There are things that we do need to continue to do in, for the greater well-being. But there are also a lot of people who are following trends that they may not completely agree with and who may not have figured it out yet, but who will learn at some point that following is not always the best idea. So I know this is kind of random and it's vague because I am speaking in my own unique way. I am trying to get a point across, but I want it to resonate with you on a personal level. And that's why I'm being vague, because if I say directly what affects me, you may not have had the same experience. So as a woman in my 60s, who has spent my entire life trying to fit into those little boxes, I've decided that I'm tired of it. And this is not just me in my personal life, but it's also me in my professional writing life at this point. I'm not going to try to follow trends. I'm not going to worry about finding the most current keywords because they keep shifting, and I'm just tired of trying to market when they keep changing the goalposts. And I do believe that really in the long run, it only benefits the people who are moving those goalposts, not the people who are trying to make their way across the field. I know, random sports metaphor there. And I'm not really even a football fan. So again, I know this is vague. I know this is all over the place, but I've really been thinking that part of the reason that I have not found a niche, part of the reason that I have not found what I would consider to be, great financial success is because I just want to do what I want to do. I want to do what makes me happy. I'm not doing anything that will purposely hurt another person. I'm following the important societal rules, but I'm still trying to figure out who I am and how I want to approach the rest of my life because I've spent so much of my life up to this point doing what other people want. And if you are feeling like you are tired of trying to follow the shifting trends in society, I mean, if you've lived as long as I have, you have seen so many different trends, and they shift so slightly that you don't really see those changes until you look back maybe a decade or so later and you realize, wow, that was different. And I kind of wish I could go back there because there were some things about that trend that I really enjoyed. And it's like the clothes you have in your closet. I used to think it was kind of odd that older people, like my grandparents, had the same clothes that they kept wearing over and over and over again, even though they were way out of style. And I realized that there comes a point where you're comfortable and you don't want to go out and find the newest and hottest thing because you might not be as comfortable with that as you are with what you have now. So my life has become an amalgamation of all the things that I've enjoyed over my many decades on this earth. And it is starting to help me figure out who I am. I'm not quite there yet, but what I have learned is that I'm tired of trying to fit into boxes and fit into the background and not make waves and all of those things because I am who I am. In the famous words of Popeye, I am what I am. I'm strong to the finish because I eats my spinach. Yeah. And you see, that's the kind of thing you get from me because I spent my life watching that kind of stuff growing up as a kid. I watched all the old shows, all the old cartoons. I remember laying on the floor on a Sunday morning with the comics and a silly putty. If you remember the little putty that came in the egg, and you would flatten it out and put it on the comics. And then when you lifted it up, it would have the image. It would pick up the ink from the comics page. And you could stretch that image and do all kinds of fun stuff with it. See, that's the kind of thing that I enjoyed. I would love to do that again. But, the world has changed. And some of the things that I enjoyed back then are no longer really available to me. I don't know if silly putty is even a thing anymore. There was probably some kind of carcinogenic substance in it. And I mean, it's like lawn darts. If anybody remembers those from the 1970s, I had lawn darts. We were throwing these massive, heavy projectiles at each other. And, we weren't technically throwing them at each other. We were supposed to throw them into the ring that was near the other person. It was almost like a duel situation, but you really weren't aiming for the other person. But so many people were injured that they obviously did away with them. And I'm not saying that I miss lawn darts, but my point is that some of the things we enjoyed weren't the best things for us, and I understand why they went away. But then there are other things like the Sunday morning comics. I mean, how many of us have actually sat down with the Sunday paper? That used to be a thing. You would have your breakfast, you would sit down with the Sunday paper, and you would have a quiet morning. Of course, this was pre-internet and pre, 24/7 information overload. So there were definitely simpler times. And sometimes I miss them. But in thinking about things like that, that's why I realized that I'm pushing against some of the more modern ideas of how to keep up with the Joneses, so to speak, as a member of Generation Jones, which is where that phrase came from. Keeping up with the Joneses was trying to have all the things your neighbors had, but make them bigger and better. And I'm tired of it because really it's all a marketing ploy. It's all a way to keep us um, buying new things, the newest and latest and hottest things, all the disposable things that don't last as long as they used to. And again, some of those things obviously shouldn't stick around because there were problems with them. But I guess what I'm really saying is that I'm tired and I don't want to try to play the game anymore. I don't want to try to fit into those boxes anymore. And I'm just going to keep doing what I'm doing. If I never achieve the standard rich and famous contract, that's fine. But I'm hopeful that somewhere along the way, other people will start rebelling against the norm, against the latest and greatest things, and go seek out people like me, people who aren't writing to market, people who are not using the most current tropes. I write paranormal, but I don't write vampires and werewolves. I'm writing spirits. I'm writing about older couples who are trying to figure out their way in a world that's changed around them and where they don't feel like themselves anymore. And I think this video is a little bit of a result of that. My writing is basically me exploring who I am and what I want to be. So I hope you will take this to heart, that you will do your own thing. If you find a job that makes you happy, but doesn't make as much as you would like to make, but it still provides you a living wage, obviously, keep that job. Don't take the promotion. Stay where you're comfortable and just do what makes you happy. So, kind of a random tangent for today. I had other thoughts about videos, but we are going out to do a book event. JT will be doing a reading at Atria, Atria Retirement Community in Reno, and we need to drop off some books with the Hollow and Quill bookstore in Reno for our signing tomorrow. We will be signing with many other local authors, and I don't know how that's going to go. I only have a few books. It's a good problem to have, but not, because I ordered books, my author copies, that I was hoping to have of Haunt Season to do my first in-person signing, and they haven't shipped yet. And we ordered them a couple weeks ago, so I don't know what's going on with that. I'm a little frustrated, but I'm going to take what I have left. I have 4 copies of Passion Restored, and we have 5 copies of From Tundra to Tiara, so I may sell out for the first time tomorrow. If I'm lucky, who knows? But in the meantime, my thoughts are kind of all over the place because, like I said, I've had some frustrations in very many areas of life, and they're not anything horrible. They're just enough to throw me off balance, send my mind into a bit of a tailspin. So I settled on the idea of talking about doing my own thing because I'm just tired of trying to fit in. And I don't think I'm quite wacky enough to get people's attention, but who knows? Maybe I'll get there someday. I'm still working on figuring out who I am at 63 years old. So never give up on yourself. Never give up on finding yourself, because obviously I'm not the same person I was at 23 years old. So who I was then, if I had known who I was then, I wouldn't be that person now. And I'm thinking the same is true of you. So do your own thing. Go out there, have some fun. Instead of going out and buying the latest and greatest thing, maybe go to a thrift shop. Go buy some vintage stuff somewhere. Have some fun. Find some silly putty and find a Sunday paper that actually is in color and play around with that. Because if you haven't tried it, it's a lot of fun. I highly recommend it. Anyway, I need to get going because we have to have lunch and head to Reno. But I will check in with you again tomorrow, probably with footage of what we've been up to. And I hope you'll follow along. We are still competing in the America's Favorite Couple competition, and it looks like there may be something like 175,000 couples competing. So Wow. So if you'd like to support us, I would appreciate it. I'll put the link in the description box down below. The competition runs until July 16th, 2026. We'll see if we progress to the next round. I'm not sure how that works out quite yet. We'll see. And I'll keep you posted on how that goes. But in the meantime, I will talk to you again tomorrow. And I hope you have a great day. I'm Cassidy Carson, and this is The Life of a Writer. Take care.